Hey everyone, Onyx here. Today we're going to be discussing the AYN Thor. The AYN Thor, I think it was announced back in November, October of last year, 2025. I was pretty excited for it. There weren't that many dual screen options on the market at that point. I think the Anbernic RGDS came out a little bit around that time. I don't know, around that time. You could only do up to about DS, and I wasn't too impressed by any of it. I wanted all the power of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, maybe more. Well, the AYN Pocket DS came out, and for sure it could do everything I wanted it to, but I was offset by its price, and because it had only one OLED and one LCD screen. So I was really turned off by that, and when the Thor was announced, I was really excited. You know, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 can do a lot, so let's get into it. This is certainly a more powerful chip than the Lite model, and for only a $50 price hike, I can't really argue with that. It also comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of space. It'll cover some Switch and PC, and with only 128 gigs of space, it's going to fill up really fast if you're using any PC and Switch emulation on it. The Pro model is where the color options finally open up. It opens up to, black, white, rainbow, and the clear purple color schemes. The Pro model has the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but it now has 12 gigabytes of RAM. I would personally recommend this model if you want Switch games. It has 256 gigs of storage. This might not be enough for higher end games, so pairing it with a micro SD card is going to help a lot. This one costs $369, and it's a really good option. But of course, I, on the other hand, purchased the Thor Max. It seemed worth it because I wanted to play a lot of PC games, Switch games. This one has 16 gigs of RAM, which honestly I don't feel that I will need to use. And it might be overkill as some games will only, use 10 to 12 at some of the worst. But one of the main reasons is that the Max has 1 terabyte of storage. For an extra $50 price difference and for 4 more gigs of RAM, but with 750 more gigs of storage, it was a no-brainer. I had to upgrade. This paired with a 1.5 terabyte micro SD card will go far, and yes, I did manage to fill them both. Let's talk real quick about the ergonomics. So this is a pretty heavy unit, right? It is heavier than any of these. It has a lot of hardware in it. It's got a lot going on with it. It is, I think it's 350 grams, if I recall. I don't recall 100%. I might be off by a little bit. But regardless, that's got a good heft to it. In addition, you do have the raised shoulder buttons here so that it's not a complete flat transition like you can see here. And that makes it easier to play by resting one of your fingers underneath it, one of your fingers on top. But overall, this form factor right here is not super, super comfy. So now, of course, you're going to be wondering, well, what are these modifications like? Well, this snaps on. You can hold it right. Here we go. There, it snaps on. When you have these on, it almost entirely matches without any sort of hitch, doesn't grab. You can access both of these just fine. I have the rainbow version, so my buttons come in, various amount of colors. I like it. It's very stark in contrast than the other models, though I have seen people who have replaced these buttons in their blacks and clear purples, and they look phenomenal. All right, so you have your 4 buttons here. They are pretty clicky. They have a good amount of movement and give. On the left, you have the D-pad, right in line, which is less snappy, definitely quieter. But for every game that I've used this D-pad for, no issues at all, works great. I don't know if Wario here agrees with me. You have your joysticks on the bottom and at the top here. They are recessed in so that there is barely any amount sticking above the device. And that allows for the lid to close completely shut without coming in contact with the joysticks. You have your start and your select buttons here. You have your back button and your home button. Right here you have the special AYN button. This is part of the reason why people are most impressed, I think, with this device is how easy it is to control your screens. You can have it on dual screen like it is now, just the top screen, just the bottom screen, back to both. You can equalize the brightness between the two. That's the lowest brightness. That's the highest brightness. Bottom screen at its lowest. Top screen at its highest. Top screen at its lowest. Bottom screen at its highest. With one tap, you can equalize them to any location upon it, and that's really useful. I have been very impressed by it. Over here on the side, you have the sound for the top screen, the sound for the bottom screen. So this is Fantasian being played at max volume. In addition to that, the fans have turned on in order to help regulate the extra processing power. I loaded the wrong game. which is fine. In the middle here, you have the taskbar, which brings up all your tasks up at the top screen. And then you have your settings tab, which can show you your 60 frames per second mode. You can switch it to 120 frame per second mode. To talk about that for a second, this panel is 120 hertz. This panel is only a 60 hertz panel. However, it uses some special technology they don't want to let us know too much about, but basically a type of frame generation that increases both screens to 120. You'll see some tearing on the bottom screen when that does happen, but not always. And it's fine to play it with it always on and always off. Works fine either way. You can switch it from standard performance, medium performance, and high performance here. You can switch the fan curve here as well. Turn it down. Turn on the ambient light, which I usually think takes away from the screen, and I would prefer to be looking at the screen, but a lot of people love the ambient light. You can adjust your controllers here. You can clean your memory. You can force landscape, dark theme it. Everything can happen here. It also gives you a lot of settings down at the bottom to see how much power usage you're using and vice versa, as well as the temperature of the device and the fan speed that it's currently at. Moving on to the rest of the buttons, since we don't want to get waylaid. So over here we have the L and R buttons and the L and R triggers. First thing you're going to notice is this one, it curves nicely, and this one doesn't. And this will rub against your skin and you will feel it. It's the same on the other side. There is a good amount of give here, good amount of travel that you can set for your triggers. And I'm pretty impressed by that. That's pretty great. On the bottom here, we have lanyard holes if you wanted to add in the lanyards. You have your volume plus and minus, your power button, your charging cable for USB-C, your audio jack, I think it's 3.5 mm, and your micro SD card slot. On the back here, you have the air intake and the air exhaust. When I'm playing, I will find that my hands cover the intake a little bit, but never cover the exhaust. So I'll always have my hand kind of one finger over that while I'm using the L and R buttons. But overall, I'm not too impressed by this. This is definitely something that could pop off or break the trigger button and get caught on something. I don't know why they didn't just match it. That would have made things a lot easier in the long run. Nice curve there. So there are ways around it, of course. And there are snap-on buttons that you can add on to the back of it so that they are not so what do we want to call it? Not so shelf-like, right? The shelf kind of digs into you. When you're playing games in particular that need to use the trigger, you know, you're playing the game and it's just going to dig into you right here. You can't rest my finger on it really easily. It's just painful. So when I can, I'll rest my finger on the LB button or in the RB button. That's worked really well for me up until now. Another thing that you've just noticed, that the screen opens and snaps here, here, and here. Let's take a look at that from the side. Here, here, and here. Now notice how difficult it is to get your finger here. With the screen all the way open, that is very difficult to do. It's very hard to press the LB and the RB buttons like this. That's something I wish they had thought of. Just it being a couple degrees up from here would have been a lot better, but it locks in place here, and that makes it very difficult to play with it all the way open like this. One snap up, you think would feel pretty comfortable overall, but I actually have to bend my wrists a little bit in order to adjust for the angle. It is not at a great angle. So right here we have my new Nintendo 3DS. This is all the way open, and yes, it is very difficult to get to the trigger buttons. One click open though, and it's not that bad, and I can still see the screen fine. I don't have to adjust my wrists to get to it. This is, I don't know if anyone would ever actually play it like that. That's uncomfortable for anyone. But they didn't find the sweet spot when it came to the angles for the Thor. I'm upset about that, but overall, I'm not too worried about it. to its closest known relatives. First, I have Nintendo DS, perfectly preserved. And you can see it is quite a bit larger from here. And surprisingly similar from the side. Next, we have the Nintendo 3DS. A little dinged up, but it still works. And you can see the size difference is thing we're going to do is test to see how pocketable it is. These are the biggest pants pockets I have, and that's a lot for, women's pants. And it almost fits. It's almost in there. It's not though. And it's a very stretchy kind of pet fabric. It'll just fall right out. However, it fits perfectly in a handbag. I still recommend using a case though. If you're wondering why I'm not testing them in men's pants, it's because I'm married to a woman and I don't have any men's pants to test them on. So I suppose in conclusion, I really love this thing. As I said before, or at least I think I said it before, I use this for my everyday carry. If I throw it in my bag or I play it at home, it's very easy to set up, very easy to use. I can play all the games that I like and maybe a little bit more. But I have been using this since it came out. I was, kickstarted it, so I got it, was it early November? I forget. I have no idea. It's been so long ago. The only issues that I have with it were those trigger buttons, which have been remedied by these caps. The overall ergonomics. How hot it can throttle sometimes. But I've been using this every day since it came out. I own an Odin 3.